Hey guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back. And in today's video, as you could tell by the title, we're doing a story time on why I recently quit my job and for many of reasons. So let's get into this story time. So it all started when I got this job at an upscale barbershop right here in Metro Atlanta, right? I was super excited because at that time, this was at the beginning of 2026, and I was working at Amazon originally during the holiday season, but they had lied about our roles, our positions, all of that good stuff. So with that being said, I said, bitch, I'm not playing with you niggas. I'm about to get me a little exit plan and figure some shit out in between that time, because the reason I say that Amazon was playing with us was simply because when I started as a seasonal employee, and even when I worked for Amazon prior, I was always told that, you know, if they decide to keep you on even after the holiday season is over, then they are going to just make you a full-time employee straight like that. And that's usually how it is at most companies when you start out as a seasonal employee, okay? You know, not every company is the same. Even if you were a great employee, they will simply tell you, no, your season is over. But every seasonal job I've ever worked, which is very rare because I make sure to not go for seasonal jobs because your spot is really not secured, okay? So, like I said, they was playing with us because, long story short, after the holiday season ended, they were originally telling us like, hey, you're going to be able to transition into a full-time employee. You just have to wait for them to reach out to you via email. So once that time came around, they reached out to us, but the role was not for a full-time employee. It was to be for flex. And if you're like, what the hell is flex? Flex is basically nothing like part-time. It's almost like part-time, but not like part-time. Part-time is a lot more secured. You got benefits a lot of the time. And with part-time, you are guaranteed at least a minimum of 15 to 20 hours, depending on the type of job you do, right? But with flex, it doesn't matter what hours you work. You know, you could pick up any shifts. You could literally work one shift a week, or if you wanted, you can work 7 shifts within a week. It just had to total out to at least a certain amount. Like you couldn't go over 60 hours a week, basically. So we was like, okay, cool. Like that's not really ideally what we wanted, but hey, we still got the job, right? So as we getting closer to the time where the holiday season is over, we're asking them like, you know, okay, like what are we going to do once it's time to transition? And of course, they're not communicating to the managers. So the managers is only telling us what they're being told, which is not much information. So I remember it vividly. Our last day at Amazon, right? Or at least my last day at Amazon, because I had not came back after that last day. We asked our manager, like, you know, y'all haven't really given us answers. Like, what is tea? He was like, you know what? I'm going to be frank with you. I don't know why they haven't been honest with y'all, but we already have our set employees for that specific shift, right? Because at the time they were telling us like, okay, like once you transition to flex, we're only offering overnight like shifts, whatever, which is like not really what I wanted. But at the same time, bitch, I'm trying to make this money. A job is a job. I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm not going to work here because now we have to work through the night. Like I'll just have to figure it out, get a new schedule. The problem came into, you know, play when he told us we already are fully staffed. So I'm like, if y'all are already fully staffed for that shift, what does it mean for us? He was just like, honestly, y'all won't be able to have access to even pick up shifts until a month from now. And I said, what do you mean a month from now? He said, again, because we are already fully staffed. He said, after a month, he said, then they're going to reach out to you, because he was just like, we already have our people who was already working here prior to it, even like the seasonal position even being a thing. So he was like, their jobs is already secured. But he said, of course, over time, you know, people tend to not really do what they're supposed to do, follow the rules, whatever. So throughout time, whoever falls off, you know, they're just gone, and now we have roles open, but that doesn't count for you and how many other employees are trying to bank on getting these shifts. So I was like, oh my gosh. So once they said that, I said, okay, baby, just go ahead and find another job. So in between that month of me just basically being unemployed, waiting to see when shifts open up, after constantly applying, I ended up securing a job at, like I said, a upscale barbershop. And this was literally when I finally hit the month mark and they started opening up shifts, right? And even then I was still considering like, maybe I'll stay with Amazon, maybe I'll just be part-time. But then I just realized, yeah, this isn't going to work for a lot of reasons, because again, since they're overnight shifts and me working at this upscale barbershop and it has traditional business hours, I just knew that I wouldn't be able to handle it. And then on top of that, with the shifts, they would literally say, oh, their shift shifts available, as soon as you click the link to try to even go to see what's available, it would already say the shifts is full. So it would be so frustrating because it's like, damn, bitch, like y'all never have shifts available when I'm just casually going through the app. And then when y'all notify me like, hey, shifts are available now, them bitches is not really available. So I just ended up saying, fuck Amazon, cut my losses, and went to go work at this Upscale Barbershop. So I was going to be working as a receptionist, which is no problem. The job is pretty easy. I have worked many receptionist jobs, especially catered to the cosmetology industry, because as soon as I graduated cosmetology school, I said, baby, I'm trying to leave the retail world and all them other type of jobs behind. If I'm working in the field, I would like to work in the field that I'm in. So I did that for about 2 years. And then I said, yeah, bitch, I'm going back to retail because y'all got the game fucked up. Okay. So anyways, this was my re-entry back into the cosmetology industry, because at this point I had not been a receptionist for maybe like almost 2 years at this point, because in between that time I worked at Sephora for a year and a half. I worked as a server too while also working at Sephora, and then when I left both of those jobs I was at Amazon. So anyways, with that being said, I haven't been in this position in a while, but I'm still familiar with what is required. So I'm doing my job, and my manager had told me from jump, like, some people don't be doing what they supposed to do, and they gonna try to get you to do it. And that was my first red flag that I should have clocked, like, what the fuck you mean by that? Because if you know people are like that, why the fuck don't you get them out of here, or you reprimand people? Like, I feel like it's not that, it's not hard. So anyways, she says that whatever. And sure enough, I'm noticing like certain coworkers would try to like I said, like try to get me to do things that was not my job. Like, for example, my responsibility as a receptionist was, of course, doing the basic necessities like checking guests in and out, booking appointments, confirming, answering emails, whatnot, keeping the front room cleaned. I also had to do laundry, but I did not have to do trash for the rest of the salon outside of the front bathroom, which again was my responsibility. So I never had an issue doing it, right? So it first started with my coworker, specifically one coworker, and we're going to call her Dayla. So Dayla, I noticed she would ask me to do little stuff like, oh, I already took out like the bags. Like when you go and dump the trash for the front, do you think you can grab these bags? And I'd be like, okay, cool. Like that ain't no problem, whatever. And I would notice she would do little stuff like that. And my manager would, again, she would never like tell people like, you're wrong for doing this. We about to, take it to the next level. She would just kind of let people do anything. But then when it came to me, the bitch never gave grace. And it used to piss me off. Another red flag that, like, honestly, I should have just from jump is that they were not considerate at all. And I say that to say because my first week working there was when Atlanta had that damn ice storm at the end of January. And it was crazy because I literally was coming back from Vegas. Like, we had already knew that Atlanta was going to have an ice storm before going to Vegas. And we is me and my sister. But this trip had already been planned for months in advance. And also, too, like, literally, we found out about, like, the ice storm, literally, I want to say either the day we were flying out or the day before. So it was just like, baby, what's done is done. That's just going to be something we got to worry about when we get back to Atlanta. So sure enough, our first flight home got canceled. So we ended up rescheduling it, whatever. And we didn't fly out till the next day. And so that kind of threw off me starting off my first day because I was going to start on a Monday. But because of the ice storm, they even ended up closing down the salon for that day. So I remember I got a call from the manager like, hey, we're not even going to be open on Monday, so just don't worry about it. Come on Tuesday. And in my head, I'm like, bitch, thank God, because I'm stuck in Vegas right now. But I didn't tell her those things because, again, I was just me coming back from this trip, I was going to start this job. So I was like, I can't start on no fuck shit. And basically, it just sounded like I got a lot going on. So I was like, okay, cool. Made it back to Atlanta, no problem. Went and started my job, right? So, like I said, something that they did that I felt like was not considerate was when I started my first week, originally my schedule was going to be, I was going to work Monday through Friday for that first week for training and all that. And then after that, my schedule was going to be Tuesdays through Saturdays, no problem. So this upcoming Saturday of my first week working there, I had already made plans and all that shit. I'm not working, whatever. out of nowhere, my manager tells me, oh, hey, like the receptionist girl is not gonna be able to be available for Saturday and she can't do her shift and things are changing. So we actually had to change your schedule and you will be coming in on Saturday actually instead of being off. And I'm like, damn, I have plans. So she was like, well, whatever plans you have, you need to cancel them. And I was kind of frustrated and annoyed because I was like, okay, that's inconsiderate and shit. But at the same time, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm starting this job, whatever. Like if I'm giving off, like I'm not available, this can easily give them a reason to be like, oh, we just don't think you're right for the position and stuff like that. And thankfully, it wasn't like something where it was just like, oh, I had a doctor's appointment, whatever, something that was basically important to me. It was just like, oh, I was going to hang out with my friends, which they're still important to me. But I know that if I tell them straight up, like, hey, my job is now last minute requiring me to come into work, I knew they would understand. So that's why I was like, okay, like I gave them grace with that. But then something else that happened where I felt like they weren't being considerate is they knew that I took public transportation to get to and from work, which that's nobody's responsibility but my own, because when you apply for a job, you know what you're getting yourself into from the journey and stuff like that. So I never made it a big deal about me taking MARTA because, bitch, I got to work and I'm going to make this money regardless, right? But the problem is that my manager was like, oh, we have these mandatory meetings and you have to be there. And I said, well, it's my off day. Like, do I have to come up on my off day? She said, yes, if you don't come, you will be fired. These meetings are mandatory. So I'm like, fuck. So I came on my off day. I was irritated as a motherfucker. So I come do my little thing. And that happened a few more times where they would like schedule it on my off day and I would tell them, I'm not coming in. Like, no, y'all need to move it to another day. So then what she started doing is trying to move it to Fridays and whatnot, because she was like, okay, well, one other person still won't be here, but at least you'll be here, whatever, because the next day was somebody else's off day, which it didn't really make sense to me because I said, bitch, if you require me to come in on my off day, bitch, do the same for him. So anyways, like I said, she made that whole big thing. But as I'm going through my job, on top of, like I said, I just felt like I already had to pick up behind them a lot. I'm noticing like my manager shows a lot of favoritism to my male coworker. Mind you, he's the only male that works in this upscale barber shop. And I know y'all are probably like, damn, that's crazy. Like, which is like, you know, that might seem like an oxymoron. Everybody else that works there is women. Like, everybody that works there is women except this one male coworker. So when I was noticing my manager showing favoritism, I already knew from the jump that like what it was, because he would like be like low-key like flirting with her. And he did it in a way where you can't necessarily be like, bro, you're being inappropriate. But he would do it in a sly way where you obviously know, like he flirting. So anyway, and she would just be in her face, like in his face, just laughing their asses off. And about 3 months into this job, I noticed that when it came to these mandatory meetings, oh boy didn't show up, right? He didn't show up to the first time. Like, no, this is the first time I noticed that he didn't show up. Let's start there, right? And I also had noticed because the other front desk girl did not come, but I wasn't really tripping on her not being there because we never worked together. So anytime that I was at work, she was off of work, vice versa. And I knew that she was in school. So legitimately, the days that I am not at work, like she's at work. And if she is not at work, baby's at school. So I said, okay, like period. Sister's at school, duh. But why is this nigga not here? Especially because our jobs was threatened over it. So I say, cool. So get to month 4. He don't show up again to the monthly meeting. And at this point, the girl had to switch locations because her and Dayla, like Dayla is a whole nother story. And she not even really a reason why I left this job or anything. But Dayla is a huge reason why that job got a high turnover rate, because a lot of people done quit because Dayla do too fucking much and shit like that. But I knew how to handle Dayla because I've experienced them type of women in the work field before, where like it be older women, they be trying to manipulate and shit like that. And it's just like, baby, as a Cancer, we are very manipulative people. You can't manipulate a manipulator, baby. I'm reading through your shit right the fuck now. So I already peeped game of what she was doing and shit like that. So I felt like because I had already peeped game, and because my manager, like I said, she gave me that warning because she never said no names, but I already knew she was talking about her. Once I noticed that, she asked me immediately, like, hey, can you take out the trash? Because literally my manager told me that one day, like I want to say that either the next day or 2 days later, she asked me to take out the trash. So when she asked me that immediately I was like, I wonder if this is who my manager was talking about, whatever. So anyways, like I said, again, the nigga don't come to the mandatory meeting. Sister at another location, so we're not even worried about her. So I'm thinking, bitch, this nigga still ain't coming. Mind you, he already don't work often anyways. Y'all, this man maybe works like 3 days a week, and a lot of times he leaves work early, which he's not supposed to do. Something about this job is that they were always supposed to like have 2 stylists on the floor at all times. First, for a safety reason, because like I said, it was mostly women that worked there. So of course, if you're working at an upscale barbershop, you're probably mostly cutting men's hair. So it was a safety reason just to not be alone with a man, but also because I guess stealing, I don't know. It's just a safety reason. That's why I was always told there's 2 stylists in the salon. But this nigga would always just dip and leave. Like if he didn't have client for hours, which a lot of times the nigga didn't have clients. It was very rare that he was 100% booked. The only days that this man was 100% booked most of the time was on Sundays and shit like that. And even on Sundays, it wasn't fully guaranteed because most customers didn't even know we was open on Sundays. So like I said, like my manager would show this nigga so much favoritism, and I would be telling her like, bro, like you let people get away with a lot that you don't let me get away with. And like, for example, I would like when I first started this job, a month into the job, I told my manager I felt like the other front desk girl don't do anything. And because she don't do shit, I be having to come in earlier than the required time because shit ain't done the night before. Like it don't even be seeming like she even do anything. Like I started to test her to the point where I would do certain stuff a certain way and see if she even touched it, which I knew she wasn't going to because the bitch never did her job. And when I would come in, stuff would still be in the same spot that I left it in, showing me like, okay, she don't do her fucking job. And I would tell my manager that all the time. She ain't give a fuck. So then what really just like blew me, y'all, was when my manager said, hey, we got a mandatory meeting and corporate is coming. I said, well, I'm off this day. Like, you know, I've been working overtime because since the other front desk girl had left, I had been picking up a lot of overtime shifts and stuff like that. And so I'm like, you know, this is my 1 week where I got 2 days off in a row. And now y'all talking about some mandatory meetings. So I can't even enjoy my off day because also the meeting was at 10 a.m. So I was like, bro, I got to come in like I'm coming in for fucking work. I'm irritated. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to just tell corporate and see how to escalate it from there. So I'm telling corporate all the different stuff that I've been experiencing throughout this job. Like, I'm not even disclosing everything. I'm just giving y'all a gist of why I quit the job. Because there was another time where, again, I was supposed to be off of work and they was talking about I would lose my job if I didn't show up. But yet this coworker hasn't been coming in at all and they still have their job and shit. So I'm telling corporate, and do y'all know that corporate, all they could say was, well, that's what it is to be a team. Like, we're a team. Like, you're going to pick up after your coworkers sometimes. So I told him, I said, you know, I don't mind picking up after people, but seeing as I was just like, I already felt like I didn't get paid enough. And I told the corporate guy that straight to his face. I said, Paul, I do not get paid enough because that's the man's name. I don't give a fuck. That's the most common name in the book. Bitch, the name Paul is in the fucking Bible. So the fuck, I could be talking about the prophet. Mind your business. So I'm telling Paul, like, all the shit, like, you know, like, it wouldn't be an issue doing these things if I got paid more. And I told him, I said, you know, I have over 2 years worth of experience from being a receptionist alone. And then I told him, I said, I have experience from going to cosmetology school. So I have product knowledge, hair care knowledge. I was just like, and then I actually genuinely love my job to the point where I volunteered to do overtime shifts to help with the company when my coworker decided to leave because, again, Dayla be running motherfuckers out of there. And so he was like, okay, well, I'll take those things into consideration and I'll talk to your manager. And little did he know, I had already said in my head that, bitch, y'all got a week. If y'all don't make shit shake in a week, I'm probably gonna get the fuck on. But in between that time, I had already been telling my coworker that I was closest with that I was gonna be gone by the end of the summer. And I had been telling her, like, yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. And I had told Dayla that too, because besides the fact of Dayla being a manipulator, she was actually a cool person and pretty chill and easy to come to talk to and stuff like that. So I always picked and choose what I talk to her about because I'm not a mysterious ass bitch and I'm not a private ass person, but I don't always disclose information all the time because motherfuckers like to use it against you. And so I had told them both, I'm like, Dayla, bitch, I'm about to get up out of here. And Dayla was like, oh, like, no, don't leave. We really need you. We really appreciate you. Like this, that, and the third. She was like, I'm going to vouch for you when corporate comes. Dayla ain't vouched for me when corporate came, and I already knew she wasn't gonna do that. That's how I already had told her. I was like, oh baby, I'm gonna talk to them regardless of if you vouch for me, because I didn't have many situations where motherfuckers will be like, oh yeah, I'll vouch for you, I'll be there in solidarity, and then when it comes down to it, they're nowhere to be found. And I told them that. I told Paul, I said, baby, I need more money. Like, if things don't change, I need more money. They didn't give me that money, y'all, and I got the fuck up out of there. It was on my off day, and I had, like I said, I had already been wanting to quit my job. And what sealed the deal for me was when my manager had ran to go deposit some money, and I was just in the front on the phone, like talking to my homegirl, and she caught me, and she was like, oh, we gonna have to talk about this when you come back to work and stuff like this, because I was supposed to be off the next day, and then I was gonna come back Thursday, and she was going to our other location, so she wasn't even gonna be there for the rest of the day. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably not even gonna come back, because baby, I don't even give a fuck. I was sitting there in front of her face looking like, ma'am, I don't care. I genuinely do not care, because I really don't care. I hate this job so much, to the point because y'all done made me hate this job. Like, y'all done took the fun out and the whimsy out of this fucking job. Like, I busted my ass so hard for this job, and they basically kept giving me their ass to kiss. And I was like, bitch, this not about to be Sephora point 2 or 2.0, as they say, because I was like, the same reason why I left Sephora was the same reason why I left here. Basically, motherfuckers was lying about the position. Motherfuckers was not holding bitches accountable. They over here having favoritism for other people, which is fine. That's your business. But when a good employee get the fuck up out of here, don't say I didn't try to warn you, when bitch, I kept telling you shit and you didn't want to listen. But yeah, that was a big reason why I quit that job. Like, it was just like small, like it was always like shit going on from the beginning, but like those main factors is why I quit this damn job, because I was just kind of like, bitch, I'm doing a lot for nothing. I'm doing a lot for nothing. Y'all didn't even deem me worthy enough to give me the pay that I requested when I first started this job. And then when I asked for promotion, because they was trying to be like, oh, well, we give promotions after a year of being here. And I told them, I said, baby, if y'all don't give me a promotion by the end of the summer, I'm not going to be here until a year, because I'm not going to bust my ass at a job for a year just to get $17 when you should have been giving that to me when I first started the job to begin with. Because I was just like, you know, if I was getting paid a little more, I probably wouldn't have given a fuck, especially because I'm like, you know, working at Amazon, they pay really well, but them bitches will work you to the fucking ground. Okay. So I'm like, you know, I already took a pay cut from going from $18 to $16, and then y'all not seeing my worth, and y'all always telling me y'all appreciate me, but bitch, the appreciation ain't shown, because I'm not getting no money for real. And even with me doing overtime, it just didn't seem like it was enough. And when I'm talking to my manager about it, instead of her considering like, maybe we should pay you more, she said, oh, maybe we should just cut your overtime hours. It just seems like it's too much for you. I said, baby, the fucking money is not enough. The money is not enough. That's why I'm asking for more pay, because I'm doing overtime and I'm seeing that the overtime is still not enough. Okay, it's not. And y'all don't want to give me the money. So cool, go find somebody else. Because mind you, our other front desk guy that was at our other location, he just recently quit. Like, he just quit because of the pay and because of treatment. So I'm like, do y'all not see that y'all the issue? Like, I get with jobs, you know, you're going to run into employees that are just not good employees. You're going to hire people who don't do what you require. But if you're noticing that we have a high turnover rate, that's when y'all need to start doing an investigation onto why people keep leaving this fucking job, whether people keep getting fired, keep quitting, changing locations. Like, you have to pinpoint, what is the issue? How can we figure things out? Because I feel like when you have a high turnover rate, you end up wasting more money, because all the money that you invested into this new person that you don't fucking know, why not invest into the employees that are willing to actually do the work and actually want to be here? Like, it just never made sense to me. But yeah, y'all, that's why I quit my job. And I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.